Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Outside of Life, where it's all about how you can turn your creative passion into a profession. My name is Eva, and my guest today is amazing fine artist, character designer, and YouTuber from Victoria, Canada. Although she has achieved a graphic design degree, she instead specializes in exploring the surreal and beautiful female form with her fusion of fine art and illustration. She has been exhibited both locally in Canada as well as internationally in Australia and the US. She is praised for bringing awareness to current issues through a blend of pop art and fantasy. Her YouTube videos focuses on art, mentality and life with very honest and calm atmosphere. For the past few years, she has been working with her partner on developing an imaginative, fantastical world and characters for their upcoming graphic novels, Kiara and Nen. Kiara will be available as a webcomic by the end of 2017. So please welcome Audra Auclair and let's get to the interview.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I'm super grateful that you took time from your busy schedule and that you joined us here.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. I've been so bad with emails and stuff.
Oh, no, like everyone is like, you create so much stuff.
Yeah, I've been trying. I've been taking a little bit of a break lately, but it's
And so let's start maybe with your background. And I would like to know if you had something like a creative outlet when you were a child, maybe favorite board game, or did you do some other activities?
I watched a lot of like movies and cartoons and stuff, and I played outside a lot. Those were my main things, but yeah, I think animation was like my main inspiration, like anime, Japanese anime, and just anything that was on like Canadian, like YTV and stuff. So yeah, I'd have to say those things. I did play a lot of board games and stuff, but I think that's where most of everything came from.
And I read you like the Sailor Moon, right? And some other favorite
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah, Sailor Moon was like, I think that was the first time I ever got goosebumps, was the first time I watched Sailor Moon. I was like 6, I think, and I was just like sitting there like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful, like all these rainbows, and like there was nothing out there that was like girls that were, I don't know, like super pretty and cool and like were independent and everything, so it kind of blew my mind.
Oh, perfect. And,
Yeah.
and so was that the time you decided you want to take it like seriously, art, or it was later?
I think first it started as like an interest from watching things like Sailor Moon. I was like, I'm interested in recreating these things, and in kindergarten they had us like, do little journals with the drawings and stuff like that. And then I had a principal when I was 6 years old, and he like took me and my mom aside and was like, hey, you could be really good at this, you're beyond your level. And that made me feel special. So I just like kept working at it. And then as I got into like elementary and junior high, I was like, this is kind of what I want to do. It'd be cool to be a marine biologist and like swim with dolphins and stuff, but I could do the art thing instead. Yeah, that'd be cool.
And do you remember like the conversation maybe what you had with your parents when you told them like, I want to take this as a career?
I think it's always just been a thing. Like, my dad wasn't really around. I didn't meet him until I was, I think, in high school. So, but he was supportive when I did meet him because he's a creative guy. And my mom, she was always supportive from the beginning. Like, even though she was a single mom, she was very, she didn't really care about me making money or anything, so, but she, yeah, just wanted me to do what I wanted, so she was pretty great. Yeah.
Perfect. And so which were kind of like the biggest decisions and turning points you had to do when you like decided you want to take this like seriously?
When I graduated, I made a decision to move away from a place that wasn't inspiring or creative. I lived in like a very small town that was like oil, like based around oil field stuff, and it just wasn't inspiring. I had a lot of friends there that it was hard to kind of move away from them because I had moved around a lot up until then. And yeah, I guess just I kind of always went with my intuition, and I didn't realize that my environment where I was in that town was so important until later on. And I made a lot of decisions that were stepping stones that were kind of like cloaked as mistakes. I tried working doing airbrushing, tattooing. I tried making jewelry, and I even moved to Thailand in hopes that I could not have to worry about paying as much for rent, and I can just like focus on making an illustration portfolio. And like I gambled everything on that, like out of whatever I did have, and went there. I think my biggest turning point was when I got fed up trying to get somewhere in my career. And I started a mini cleaning business with my friend who's also an artist, and she was kind of fed up with doing commissions and stuff. And yeah, we cleaned houses for a while. She's told me not to like tell anyone that she was doing. I was like, what's wrong? Cleaning's fun. She's like, no, I don't want to ruin my career or something. But it was good for us. Like we both got a great break, and I got some perspective. And it's just kind of, it's a process that's just kind of out of your head. So I got to do a lot of thinking and recuperating. And after a while, I think it was a couple months, I felt energized to just do everything I could to make it work. Like it was kind of my last burst of energy after trying so many things. And so I worked like 12-hour days, and I think I worked almost every day, and I worked until like my neck was like unbearably hurting, and yeah, pretty much. And, like I was having like a weird form of vertigo even. I don't know why. I think something must have been cut off from just like looking down all the time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just draw what I wanted to draw instead of trying to focus on like what does a magazine want, or what does like a tattoo parlor want in my portfolio there. So I just worked on stuff that I loved doing, and I focused on posting it on Instagram and Tumblr and Facebook. And then after a while, things just started to kind of pick up on their own. It was weird. It was like trying to like force things, and then just when I kind of gave up and did whatever, it kind of happened.
Yeah, but it makes sense because then you started to do more what you love, so it shows through the work.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I agree.
And so who kind of inspired you the most, or did you have a mentor in this process?
There were a lot of people that kind of influenced different decisions and different things I've tried. Lots of just like small things that people have said that have opened doors that have kind of led me to try one thing or another. I don't know if I'd be in the same spot if I didn't try all the things that people had mentioned. I didn't really have a mentor per se, but I did have an art teacher. I guess you could kind of call her a mentor in high school. Her name's Carrie Caldwell, and she was fantastic. I've had art teachers that just like didn't seem to really care much about teaching art, and she came in to my life like second last year of high school, and she just like created a really safe place for everyone, and she was very inspiring and like encouraging, and she was like a second mom to me, and I feel like she really helped kind of pull me through a time that I needed her most. I am very inspired by Miyazaki, the director, artist, mind behind Studio Ghibli, and Kim Jong-gi, and lots of different peers as well. I'm always super inspired by other artists. Lots of them you are actually interviewing on here. So I was like, hey, I recognize all these people. They're all so great. Like the art community is so inspiring and we help each other out a lot. Yeah.
So what was maybe the best advice you ever received or the best lesson you learned from this teacher you mentioned?
That's a tough question. I think best advice I think is fake it till you make it. I love that because when I got out of high school, I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't end up going to fine art school. So I always felt like maybe there was some like pressure that I had to have this degree to be called an artist or something silly like that. And I just kind of, I guess, convinced myself and maybe faked that I guess knew what I was doing. I mean, I don't know. I know they teach you techniques in there and everything, but I feel like I did well learning on my own and was able to kind of, I don't know if I'd say fake my way through, but I think I did well without that.
And what do you think about like the worst advice maybe you ever received or you saw someone gave to someone else?
The worst advice I've gotten was, you should take this graphic design course that I'm doing. It's great. And then I did. And then I did. Yeah. And it's like $12,000 later and not really a lot of, it wasn't worth it. I finished paying it off finally, like I think this year, luckily. But yeah, I have a weird relationship with post-secondary. I feel like there should be websites out there where you can actually rate schools because I've heard from people that go to schools and they basically get taken advantage of because they just aren't the greatest, even though the reviews are okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but it makes sense because like I went to study multimedia graphic design where I thought I will learn like Photoshop and Illustrator, I will like all, and then I came there, it was more about coding and development and I can do websites now.
Yeah, that's my boyfriend had the same thing too. He's like, I want to make video games. I'm gonna go into programming because they say that this is where you get into making video games. But he found out after all this money later that he wanted to like do the creative world building development that has nothing to really do with it.
So what are your go-to resources or maybe books you can recommend for our audience, to learn from or check out?
For books, I think the most valuable books for me have been just art books. Like I have a book by Kim Jong-gi that I love, and it's just like a really thick book full of all of his sketches. And I flipped through there and I'm immediately inspired. I have Miyazaki art books and just like various art books like from Luis or other artists that I follow. And I feel like it's just like a constant source of inspiration. And I feel like those have just been very helpful to me, more helpful than a lot of like the instructional art books. I feel like it's more inspiring and more motivating for me to look at something someone else has done. But yeah.
And if we go back to the time when you said also you were in school and then you also did the cleaning business and so kind of these waves of different types of jobs, when was it like when you did like that transition to like doing more art, maybe more commission, and how did you get maybe your first job or?
Oh man, it's always been kind of a mess. Like I've always been sort of flip-flopping. In high school, I did a couple commissions. When I got out of high school, I looked for like freelance work online, and it was very difficult and competitive because you're competing with other countries that can get by with charging way less. And I did commissions after I moved to Thailand. During Thailand, I went on a website called Fiverr, which is kind of kind of terrible as well. It's like $5 for anything, and I was like, I'm gonna do really quick portraits for $5 each, and that was just like that was horrible because I needed the money. I was like, I'm gonna do anything. So I tried that, and yeah, it's always kind of been random. I've gone into starting to make a portfolio for one thing and having to change my mind partway through, and it's always been kind of scrambling to, I guess, find something or some way, and commissions have always been just sort of a side thing that I would try and do. And I used to always take them through websites, like, the freelance websites. And I wasn't at a point where I had my own following yet. So it wasn't until I had my own following that I could actually get commissions that I sort of enjoyed instead of hunting for corporate commissions. So once I started getting more of a following, then I would take them on the odd time for some like side money, and they're usually pretty enjoyable too, like tattoo designs and line work and all that. So yeah, that was always kind of a side thing.
And so when did you decide that you want to do YouTube?
I don't remember when it was kind of a random thing. I think I was watching people, I think it was after Thailand. I'd always watched YouTube, but then I started watching other artists drawing online, and I think I watched Bailey J was one of them. Yeah, I watched her and was like, oh, that's really cool. She's doing fun stuff, like putting a handkerchief over her eyes and like trying to draw things without looking, like fun stuff like that, which I still want to do. I haven't done that yet. But I was just like, that looks like so much fun. And I tried doing like a time-lapse drawing, and it was like not the greatest quality at the time, but I don't know, it just started happening, and it was a fun thing that I could do, and it definitely helped getting like more eyes on my work as well.
Yeah, and so how long have you been in Thailand?
I was in Thailand for, I can't remember, I think like half a year.
Yeah.
We'd intended on being there for much longer, but there's nothing comfortable about sitting in the heat on like an exercise ball in like your bra and underwear, like dying of heat while you're trying to work. It was not fun. And like I was using the Wacom tablet, and my MacBook, and like the metal from the MacBook was like electrocuting me while I was working on it because they have no grounding there. So anytime I wanted to use my MacBook, I was being electrocuted, and then anytime I used my tablet, my sweat was just like so
sliding.
It just kept sticking, and like it was horrible. It was just not a good work environment. So it didn't work out, but it was very nice for getting like some culture.
Yeah, so it was a bit different. And so when you think about now the mediums and tools, what you use now, and maybe what you started with, do you have now the favorite brand you use or something you work every day?
Yeah, I like experimenting with different mediums, but I had this like great moment the other day where, because I'm so used to working on like actual good quality watercolor now that I can kind of afford it, and I went back and I was like just doodling. I was doodling on this just printer paper with like a basic like standard pencil, and it was like the most freeing thing ever. And it brought me back to when like I used to just work with just a basic pencil or ballpoint pen even on printer paper, like lined paper. And yeah, that's pretty much what I used. I didn't have anything fancy until much later in high school, in which case I had like very, very cheap watercolors basically, and cheap acrylic paints. First time I discovered oils, since oils is like a more fancy, expensive thing. First time I discovered them, like blew my mind. It was so great. It's like, is this what painting with like really good quality, like great amazing medium that's expensive is
Yeah.
like it feels amazing. um, now I use Mgram and Co gouache, and I use mostly Daniel Smith watercolors. But I would love to eventually save up for a schmink set. I've been kind of really wanting one. So that's my goal. And I use Gamblin water, or not watercolors, sorry, oils, and I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And then you also paint digitally sometimes, right? That you
Yes. And
combine. Yeah.
yeah, I use a 22-inch Wacom Cintiq for digital art, and also an iPad with Procreate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, because you also do these like videos where you can actually record it directly in Procreate,
Yeah,
right?
I love Procreate so much.
Yeah, I still need to get that. I'm thinking about it for
Uh,
a long time.
you would love it. I haven't talked to anyone that hasn't totally loved it.
Oh, cool. So that simplifies your life as well when you want to do like a speed paint video that you can just record it.
Yeah, I almost prefer it to my much more expensive Cintiq.
Good.
Yeah.
And and how do you design your day? What do you do daily which contributes to your success?
Uh, I wish I was a much more scheduled person. Uh, I'm pretty random. However, I am trying to kind of be more organized. But I think just the nature of how many things I'm having to juggle right now is sort of keeping me from having a set routine, like set daily routine. So I don't always have time to go through my emails, and I don't always have time to ship everything in one day. So sometimes it like bleeds onto the next day or whatever. So it's very messy right now. I'm wanting to kind of switch around how I'm doing everything, because I feel like I do need a little bit of structure, and currently I can't get that. So I'm wanting to focus more on Twitch and YouTube, because if I focus on making income through there, I feel like I can kind of have more of a schedule, and it will be less about kind of a production, shipping, logistics sort of thing that I have going with having a store and focusing on the store.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping I can switch with that, but for now it's very random.
So can you make income also with Twitch?
Yes.
So is it per view or how does it work there?
You get ads. You have ads kind of like YouTube, but also people can subscribe or donate. I haven't been, I'm not a partner yet, which is when you actually start making more income. But yeah, when you're partnered, you can have subscribers and everything like that. So yeah, I'm aiming for that. It's risky. I have my boyfriend that like I'm somewhat supporting him right now. He does help me with a lot of things like packaging orders and stuff. But yeah, it's risky switching from sort of what I'm doing now, because my store is like 80% of my income, and switching it to something else is really, it's sketchy. But I feel like there's some pressures in having to always be creating quick pieces to make money. And I always have so many things going on at once, and I feel like I'm stuck to creating just a single style, and I don't have time to do studies to like learn more landscapes and everything, because I feel pressured to make things quickly and not challenge myself. So if I work on Twitch and YouTube, I feel like I'll make income from people just watching, and I feel like hopefully that'll give me the freedom to do studies, and maybe people can watch those. Like even if they don't want to buy it per se, they can still come and watch. Because I feel like a lot of the people that follow me would want to buy things that are within my current style, so it feels confining a little bit. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm
Yeah.
horrible at words.
No, but I think it definitely makes sense because I haven't considered Twitch before, and I just heard it from many people now that they are just moving there, and so it's actually a really great idea that you can actually create more art and make money while you are also learning, and people want to watch how you are learning, basically.
Yeah, and I feel like there's something to be said about uh, getting to know someone too.
Hmm.
And I feel more connected to people, and I feel more like supporting their work when I know them on a personal level or somewhat more personal level. Um, I don't know why, but
And
just connect with them. So.
yeah, and so how do you do your networking mainly? Is it through online or do you also go for like events, around the country?
I would love to do events. That's something I would really like to do once I finish my comic that I'm working on. But it's very intimidating, so I don't do that. But I want to. I really want to. But for now, it's mainly all online, like social media, um, like pretty much every social media you can think of. I'm trying to slim it down because it's too much.
But what is your kind of the most used one? Do you think YouTube or Instagram or?
Right now, it's Instagram and Twitter, but I do want to focus more on Twitch and YouTube. Uh, yeah, I think I'm not sure why, but I think for mainly for just mental reasons, I find that too much social media is kind of unhealthy for
Hmm.
me at least. So I feel like Twitter and Instagram are fantastic platforms for artists especially, but I get a lot of incoming things. Like I see lots of other artwork, which is great because it keeps me inspired, but too much can be overwhelming and can make you start to look at your own work and compare, and I don't want that. And the news and everything, and there's just a lot more stuff and chaos. But I feel like if I'm on Twitch at least, it's more of a conversation within a room,
Hmm.
and instead of all of these other things sort of coming at you. So that's yeah, kind of what I'm that's kind of what I'm hoping to get with this switch as well. I'm obviously not gonna stop going on Instagram or Twitter, but I feel like I'm gonna be less, I guess, focused on it and
Yeah.
um, sort of distance myself a little because I do find as well that if you're looking at a lot of other art, it keeps you from being inside of your own imagination because you're
Yeah.
getting all these other things coming at you. So I'm
So
hoping,
yeah, that you
yeah,
can move there. And can you share
yeah.
maybe like some maybe tip what you learned recently on like how to do Instagram or something from YouTube, because you have so much experience from both.
Um, well, YouTube, one of the things that I noticed about that, which I'm really bad at, but I'm hoping you'll get better at, is updating frequently. Like posting weekly videos is probably the most important thing you can do. I know lots of people who do daily vlogs, which is so intense. I don't know how they can do that, but they make a pretty decent living with doing it. So yeah, posting frequently is definitely a good idea. Same thing with Instagram, posting frequently. Um, I noticed that on Instagram because Facebook took it over and they changed algorithms and everything. They they made it so that you basically have to make sure you're posting somewhat often, which can be a bit of pressure because they do the same thing they did with Facebook, which I didn't like at all, where you have to get a lot of likes on one thing to make sure it's seen,
Yeah.
or to make sure your future posts are seen more. So, and if someone doesn't start liking your stuff, or if they stop, then they don't see your work anymore. So posting frequently kind of keeps that from happening, but then there's also the pressure of like having to do your best and everything. So posting stories on Instagram is a good idea because people always will see the stories at least. So you can always post sort of what you're working on, and if they want to see more of it, then they can click on your main profile. No, just the basics are good, like making sure you have a decent camera set up and the lighting's good. I pretty much always wait till daytime to take pictures because otherwise it ends up looking horrible no matter what I do.
Yeah, it's like that orangey or dark. And
yeah. So things like that are good.
Perfect. And you mentioned your own comic and projects you're working on now. So can you tell us a bit more about the exciting stuff which is going on?
Yeah, the comic is super exciting. I'm so in love with it. I'm also a little bit afraid of making it because you have to like design this character, right? And you're stuck with this character for this whole comic. You have to make sure like, does this hairstyle reflect like who they are perfectly, or are their eyes too like squinty or wide open? Like is the way
all the time.
Yeah, the way they look is the way they look portraying their personality, and you have to like look into all of these like nitty-gritty little things and like their posture and how they walk, and it puts like a whole nother element into art. Like there's so much more you have to be thinking about, which is another reason I'm excited for Twitch, because I'll be able to actually do more like concept sketches and just rough things and share them without the pressure of feeling like Instagram's algorithm is going to detract from my viewership if I post something that isn't a finished painting, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like a sci-fi fantasy comic book, and I'm doing it with my boyfriend. He's writing, but we're kind of designing it together, and it's exciting because you get to make completely unique plants and races and religions and everything, because it's on a completely different planet. We've been even changing like physics of things and figuring out how certain things work. Like we have floating islands, and so we've been thinking about this way that like magnetism on the planet would kind of suspend different things, and how radiation would work through like tree systems, and all these really fun things. Like world designing is so much fun. So we have the first book, which is called Tiara, and it's been written, so now I just have to do the artwork for it, basically.
That.
Yeah, just that. And it's becoming a lot longer than we had originally wanted, because we wanted to start with a smaller, kind of like a short story beside the main story, to make sure that we could actually take on a huge comic that will probably take us like 10 or more years to do. So we're like, let's start with something small, make sure we can do this, and it's just become this like whole separate large project. But it's great. It'll be fun, and then once we finish that, we'll start on the main comic of the main character.
So when do you think this will be launched, when people can expect?
Tiara, I'm hoping will be next year. It all kind of depends on how this new setup works for me, because I'm not sure how I'm gonna go about doing it.
Hello.
Yeah, that happens. I'm sorry. I didn't even know she was in here.
I saw her in the background.
Yeah. It all depends on everything, because if I can work on it while I'm Twitch streaming, that would be fantastic, because then that means I'm basically getting paid while I'm working on it, so that would help to bring it to life. But we're not sure, like we could consider doing a Kickstarter for it or something, or try and get it published. We don't really know how to go about it yet, but I need to get the first like 10-15 pages done. And then maybe we can reevaluate and consider maybe getting a publisher to see if we can get in advance so that we could put it out sooner. So it all kind of depends on all sorts of variables.
And do you want to have it black and white or in color?
Color would definitely be awesome.
Perfect. And is there something you wish you knew before you started the whole art career? Like advice you would give to young self?
If I could go back in time and talk to myself, I would say to not do the graphic design course. I would probably suggest taking some sort of course in fine art, maybe a shorter course, more experimental, not a lot of commitment, just to kind of get myself more direction as to where I want to go with what medium, and to kind of develop my style instead of just jumping into trying to do illustration or graphic design. I would tell myself to focus on doing realistic studies. Like if I could talk to myself in high school or junior high, I'd say, do studies of people and like landscapes without a style like that you try to force, like a manga or anime style. Like focus on getting down realism, shading and everything before copying cartoons or copying other artists you look up to or anything like that. Because having those basics, if you get out of school with all those basics, it helps, I think. I wish I'd focused more on that. I wish I was prepared that I would basically have to be a business person and wear a million hats. I wish I was a little bit more prepared for it so that I could maybe learn more about taxes, learn more about different equipment, marketing, website design. I wish I would have gotten into social media earlier, because I feel like that would have helped me get ahead a lot. There are some artists that I follow that they're in like high school and they have started very early and they have a huge following. It's a huge platform that can set you up for a lot of opportunities early on. So yeah, I definitely wish I would have started with that. And I also wish I could tell myself that it doesn't matter where you are, like, or how successful you are, that it will still be an uphill thing. Like you won't reach a point where you can just like kind of glide off of whatever hill you climb to. You can't just glide down. It'll always be a little bit uphill, and that's okay. And I think it's because you do something creative and you're always trying to grow, and it's such like a mental spiritual thing that it will always feel a little bit like a struggle, but it is worth it.
Yeah. And what about inspiration? What do you have now? And maybe if you have something strange which inspires you?
I love people that look like cartoons, like like an old man just like sitting on a bench that has like a huge hunch and like lots of ear hair and like a huge nose or something. Like I love stuff like that. I love seeing people that have very pronounced features. I would love to have the confidence to actually like go up to people and ask them if I could take a picture or if they would model for me or something. That I do not have that much courage or confidence.
So you can just sit next to them and like try to sketch them and like, no, I'm not drawing you.
I try to like kind of side glance and look at people and try and memorize what they're wearing in my head. Like, okay, what jacket is he wearing? What are his pants like? What belt buckle? Like, I'm not looking at a crotch. I'm looking at what belt you're wearing. Like, I try to look and memorize without being creepy. I wish I was like part robot, so I could just like memorize a person so I could draw them later. That sounds really creepy, but it's all like good fun. I mean,
Yeah, but with exaggerated features, you can remember some
yeah,
stuff and then you can implement maybe from different people to one character later on.
yeah, I love it. That's one of my I love doing like really silly looking drawing really silly looking characters. Like I try and I mainly do like beautiful, like surreal looking women with like weird like horns or multiple eyes and stuff like that. And then I feel like that's kind of the aesthetic that I set out for myself. But secretly, I really like drawing just like really weird cartoons of people.
So now you can combine everything in the comic as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited to make some like hilarious looking characters and like a wide range of shapes and sizes. I'm excited. It's new for me because I've always kind of stuck with a specific shape because I it's my favorite. I like drawing like weird, gangly, long, creepy limbs and like stuff like that. But it is nice to be able to express yourself in like more shapes and sizes. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. I'm really looking forward to see it.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about yet the kind of difficult time or the worst career moment because like we always have ups and downs, and then you mentioned as well you always go up and up the hill. So
Yeah.
what would be maybe your kind of key takeaway or like learning from the difficult time, or what was the difficult time story?
Uh, I think the hardest time I've had was when I was in Thailand. It's difficult to not talk to anyone, to have anyone to really hand gestures and like minimal Thai speech can only get you so far. So it was kind of lonely, but also the heat and trying to trying to force myself to dig inside myself to find some style that I had no idea what it was or where I was going to get it
Mm-hmm.
from or all of that. It was difficult and sending when I did finish my portfolio, I could feel that it was forced. Like it didn't feel right. It didn't feel good enough. And I look back to it now and I'm like, oh, it wasn't good enough. Like I wasn't ready. I still had a lot of basics I needed to work on, but finishing it and sending it to agents and not like getting much back was just it was hard and kind of just accepting defeat uh, was really difficult. I had to move back with my mom for a bit to kind of try and figure out what I was going to do next. And it was just very hard. It was very hard mentally. I do struggle like a lot with mental issues and depression. So I've had a lot of moments where I get too focused on the work and whether I'm improving enough and comparing too much and all of that stuff. But that moment was definitely like it had a lot more additional elements that made it more of a fall and more of like a breakdown. And I'm glad it happened because I do feel like every bad thing that has happened and every mistake I made and everything like that has just kind of led me to where I am now. And it makes me appreciate where I am now much more because I did have to struggle and sometimes I forget like what I did go through to get to this point. Um, and I feel like I just start to I guess take advantage of just being here and I it's good to think about what you like kind of went through to get to that
Mm-hmm.
point because it helps keep you humble.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but I know not everyone has to go through
yeah, and
all of all of
so,
that.
but what kind of helped you to get out of that? You know, what was your main motivation, or how did you kind of motivate yourself, like to continue? And
Well, I think after I went home, just being around family helped a lot.
mm-hmm.
I think my siblings, well, mainly my sister, I love her to bits, but she was driving me nuts at the time, and I couldn't be there. So I was like, I need to get motivated so I can get out of here again. I need to sort myself out, and I need to just try and get back into, I guess, just working and trying to reach my goals. So I had a little kind of relaxing period, and I think I had invested in a Wacom tablet at that time, my first like good tablet, and it kind of helped me be motivated as well because I was inspired to create more digital work. And yeah, I think there's something to be said about failing and then just kind of picking up your pieces and spending time to pick up the pieces and just let yourself be sad about something not working. And then once you're kind of just tired of being sad and tired of, you know, your position and where you are, I think that's when I got the motivation back. Yeah. And I think that's pretty much what happened to me every era of my process of getting here was I would try really hard and I'd have all this motivation, and then I would not get what I wanted out of it. And then I would kind of break down, you know, have a good cry or a week's worth of crying or whatever, and thinking, and I would just step away and let myself recover. And then I get tired of being sad, and then I try extra hard, and then things eventually work.
Perfect. Then do you also go like to nature, or do you do yoga or something, you know, which helps you?
I wish I did do a little bit of yoga because I had a friend here that was a teacher, and I did really enjoy it, but I find it hard to motivate myself to set time aside for that every day. But I feel like even though I don't go out every day for like a walk or anything like I would like to, living somewhere that I have the option to go outside and there's water to swim in or trees to walk through or mountains to climb right outside is very helpful, because when I do have the moment where I just need to get away, it's there. Yeah. And yeah, I think my environment helps a lot. And I do also use video games to get away sometimes as well. But yeah, I do think having nature has definitely helped a lot.
And do you have your office now at your house, or because you don't have to travel somewhere, right, to work?
Yeah, I have it here, but as you can tell by my cat like walking in front of me and the odd sounds in the background there, it has like a couple of like issues where you're not like completely separated, but we just moved, so I actually have like a separate room at least now, whereas before I was working in like the dining room area, and it was just not good. Sometimes like my boyfriend, he like moves around a lot. He's always shaking his legs, so the floor is vibrating. Yeah, so I'm sitting here like, can you just stop? Or he'll like be like, he's got so much energy. He'll be typing and like working beside me, but he'll be like dancing around, and I can like hear he'll have his headphones on, and I can hear him like moving around and like dancing. I'm just like, oh, I just want to be alone.
Drawing, yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely have more separation because I can just kick him out, and that is definitely really nice. I really like that.
So you can work on your stuff. And some of my last questions I want to ask you is about the future. And I would like to know, what would be your dream scenario in like 5 to 10 years? And imagine you cannot fail, and that's like how you want to have it.
Okay, so this is the best question ever. I would travel the world, and I would just sketch everything. I don't think I'd make very many like original like separate pieces that I could take and sell. I would just have sketchbooks full of all these different places, and I would travel somewhere and I would find like a building or like a mountaintop or a cafeteria, and I just sit and draw people like for hours, and I would go and eat somewhere awesome and just discover new places and people. I feel like that would be the best thing ever. And then like I would maybe publish sketchbooks so that I could somehow be like making some sort of, I guess, income from that. And in a dream scenario, I would like to be making enough that I could actually take lots of time aside to do volunteer work. I would love to do like environmental work. It would be awesome to take aside like a month, a year, a couple months a year to just like clean, like work with cleaning oceans and spills or like planting trees. Like I would love to do that. Like I think that's like, if when I die, that's sort of the one thing I would like to leave behind, is that I helped the environment a little bit. Because I feel like we use so much as humans, we consume so much that I feel like giving back for a month, a year, or like a month of my life or a couple months of my life would make me feel a lot better about myself.
Yeah, that would be perfect, because I think, yeah, as you mentioned, we don't realize like, oh, you just buy fish, but you don't know like how much stuff is happening in the ocean. You don't see what, and but there is not so much information about that.
They discovered these like amazing, they're called like glass sponge reefs, and they're like down by Alaska and a few other areas, and there's like almost none of them left, but they're amazing. They can grow like multiple stories high, and they look like glass, and they're just like these glass tubes of just these really cool things. And yeah, people are wanting to like fish near them and drill near them or something like that. And it just had me thinking like, and these things have been around for millions of years.
So we destroy basically everything, just gradually, and
So I don't know. I feel like that would be so fantastic. And if I could never get the time to do it, I would love to donate a lot of money to be able to do something like that. So I think that would be my dream scenario, along with finishing all the comics.
Yeah, that would be perfect. I would definitely join you for that. And and I'm so happy that you were here and you took time. And before we say goodbye, maybe you can take or give us like a last piece of guidance or key takeaway, and then we say goodbye.
I think that, well, a lot of your following that'll be listening mostly be artists, right? I feel like if it's something that you really want to do, it's worth doing anything you can. If there's one thing I've kind of learned from my whole experience, I think it's worth it. There's a quote that I found that I really like by Herman Cain. I had to put it down so I remembered his name. It's called "Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. And if you love what you're doing, you will be successful." And I totally didn't notice that when I was, forcing myself to try and find a trade. I didn't know that just doing paintings that I love doing was going to, I guess, be the answer. I had no idea. And it wasn't until I started doing something that I truly enjoyed doing that success started slowly happening. So I think that, if you're doing what you love, then you should be successful.
Perfect.
If you put in the time and you have the motivation and the willpower and everything.
So just finish things. Yeah.
Finishing, yes. Finish is very important.
Amazing. So thank you so much again, and thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you for having me.
And see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know in comments. Also, please subscribe to my channel for more videos because I post new interview every single workday. You can also find the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a little freebie waiting for you, so go check it out. If you want to listen to the interviews on the go, make sure to check out the podcast episodes at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and don't forget to inspire each other. I will see you guys in the next episode.